We're not taking this for granted. It's unprecedented that a governor give us access to his home, especially after a controversy over the weekend, which we saw at the Lake of the Ozarks. I think it's fair to say that's where we're going to start tonight.
20 million views worldwide was the last I saw in terms of the video.
International story right now.
Right.
You addressed this a little bit today. We're going to get you into this right now. We're going to take some time in this. But for the most part, all accounts that we've heard from so far, most people at the Lake of the Ozarks were doing the right thing at the hotels, the stores, businesses, social distancing.
Right.
But we already know there are videos, there are pictures of people not doing what you said, and to a lot of people, it made them sick to their stomach.
Yeah.
Where are you?
Right. You know what? It was terribly unfortunate that that happened at Lake of the Ozarks. It's not something we want to be known in Missouri for all over the national news. But, and, you know, you're disappointed in things like that when that occurs. But the reality of it is it did. You know, people went to the lake and they got in together there in the pool areas, which was not what we asked them to do. And it was really, you know, one of those things we wish hadn't occurred. But I think the important thing, what you brought up, Nick, the majority of the people in the state were doing the right thing. You know, the rest of the people around the lake shouldn't be blamed for the bad actors, the small number of people that were in there. Yes, there was large numbers in the pools, but overall, when you consider all the people in the state of Missouri was doing the right thing, you know. And I personally was out over there with my granddaughter's graduation. We went to church on Sunday. People were committed to doing social distancing. So I don't think we want to brand everybody in the state of Missouri for what a few did down there at the lake. It's unfortunate, and they shouldn't have been doing it, and there's no way to justify what they were doing when they were supposed to be abiding by social distancing.
Governor, I've watched dozens of your briefings, was at your briefing today where you made those points. You've made personal responsibility a hallmark. You've closed out many of your briefings with that salutation to Missourians. Please be socially responsible. So, 35,000 foot view now. As we work our way into phase one now of the state beginning to reopen, give Missourians a grade if you could. You can do it on an A to F or 1 through 10. How has Missouri done, given how important it is to you?
You know what? I think Missouri's did an excellent job. I really do. It's a virus. It's something none of us had control over. And when you look where we were at 60, 70 days ago to where we're at today, it's remarkable what this state and what people went through and what they've done. Look at the healthcare industry as a whole, what they did to make this state safe, to make people safe. All the things that they went through, all the orders that come out, whether you live in a big city or you live in the rural parts of Missouri, everybody was trying to make everybody as safe as possible with what information they had at the time. So I really think Missouri, when you compare us to other states, we did a good job. And I know this, most people were very serious about this virus as we went through this. We were all concerned where it was going to go, where it was going to take us. But at the end of the day, I believe Missourians, again, have that personal responsibility, have that work ethic that we've had in this state, and we'll overcome this. We really will. It's not going to be a perfect system because we don't know how to be perfect with it. But I guarantee the majority of the people out there in Missouri care for each other and are going to get through this virus.
I'm going to count that as a B plus, A minus then? Is that fair?
Yeah, I'm biased, so I'm going to give us an A to start off with.
Well, you're smiling, and I'm happy because I have to go back to that lake story for a second.
Yeah.
Number one, were you angry when you saw what you saw? And two, if you can't do anything more than what you're already doing, what are you going to do with that? Because my phone messages were lit up, my email was lit up. Vic, press the governor from people who hated what they saw.
Yeah.
What are you going to do, if anything?
Yeah. You know, what can you do? Well, you know, at the end of the day, it's going to come to personal responsibility of how you act and how you conduct yourself. And it's really going to come to that. We don't live in a police state, and we're not going to live in a police state. That's not who we are. If people don't take it upon themselves to take the action, and this is a virus, you got to keep that in mind. I mean, there's other viruses that are out there. We have to maintain our own responsibility to how we conduct ourselves. You know, again, I wish it hadn't happened. You know, I'm not saying they're bad people. They just made bad judgment for the time, considering what we did. What's frustrating for me as a governor, you've been through so much in 60 or 70 days trying to deal with this, trying to get it right day after day, trying to make decisions, and you're trying to give everybody the best information you can. And then all of a sudden they don't utilize that information because for whatever reason they just want to cut loose for a while and have a big party. And, but look, it happened. We got to deal with it. We got to move forward.
You said today that you're letting the local authorities deal with it.
Right.
It's they know their communities better. You're going to let them handle it. But if you had those health departments in front of you tonight, would you say to them, enforce the order? Take action?
Yeah. I mean, it's an order. An order's an order. You know, they've got to make that decision on their local levels, what they want to do, and what they can do to probably curb that from happening again.
What if they choose not to do anything?
Well, if they choose not to do that, they've got elected officials in those local areas that make those decisions that they're responsible to. Look, when you're elected official, and I've been there on the county levels, you know, there's days it's fun to be elected official, and there's days like what we're going through with coronavirus, it's not so much fun. But you have to make tough decisions during those times. So Camden County needs to figure out, okay, what is the best way for us to move forward on this? There's not a better place to answer that than right there on the local levels. And if you really believe in local control, which I extremely do, good and bad, then you got to let local control take its place. You just can't come in and, you know, I don't like the federal government coming in and telling me what to do as a governor of the state of Missouri, and I don't think I should necessarily be going down to the county and city levels telling them what to do.
Are you worried, though, about cases spiking throughout the state? I mean, for people who get upset, they have to assume that people in the pool were positive and could expose somebody. But have you thought about that or talked to the team that you talked to?
Sure. The last thing you want, you know, one of the biggest things as governor you do is try to make sure public safety is your number one issue. You want people to feel safe, and you want to do everything within your powers to make sure of that. You know, and I hope that doesn't happen. Do I think in those terms? Do I think it could? Yes. But in fairness, what if it doesn't happen? You know, maybe we dodged a bullet for the time being. But the most important, it doesn't change the situation. The virus is still there. The order's still in place. All you can do is use a little common sense here, keep the social distancing in place. And that's what we need to do.
You know, you mentioned there are days where it's fun to be an elected official and some days not so fun.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you bargained for a pandemic when you stepped into the role. I do recall early on, your choice was to local control. Allow, I believe the phrase you used was, how should I be the one saying you're an essential service or not in a rural area versus an urban area? But then the voices grew loud from surrounding states that were taking action, from the editorial pages, from Democrats.
Yeah.
Why aren't you shutting the state down?
Right.
People are going to die.
Right.
What was the turning point for you? Because ultimately you did issue a stay-home order.
Where we got to that was data, was real information. Everybody was reacting early on to know really scientific facts of what was going on. Again, to social media, to the media, to what people wanted you to do. The whole thing that I was trying to do the entire time is find out, okay, what is the facts of Missouri? Where are we really going? How many people are in the hospital beds? How many people are in ICU? How many people are on ventilators? It was whether the healthcare system would be overwhelmed or not. That was the real number you need to look at. I never did get caught up in the numbers game of how many positive cases of COVID-19 there was. It was all about, was it going to overwhelm the hospital systems in the state? And we were prepared for that when that time came.
How close did we come?
Pardon me?
How close did we come to overwhelm?
Well, you know, at first I don't know if it's how close you got, but it was the unknown. The numbers were going pretty rapidly, and you know, and you didn't know, okay, where's that going to stop? That was the thing that we were trying to figure out. Where was it going to stop? How do we start slowing this thing down? And how do we get to the curve? And I think, but you had to have real facts to make those decisions, and that's what we were trying to do all the time, is get data.
On the heels of John's question, talking about the guidelines that you put in place, is there anything you can share about moving forward, what this show is called, when it comes to guidelines, or what people might be able to expect in the future?
Oh yeah, I think one of the things that I learned from this whole episode is make sure that you get the right information to make the right decisions. So you got to know what's really happening. Again, with your hospitals, with the coronavirus, who's it really affecting, who's it targeting? Because when we first took off, you realized we was trying to cover the whole state of Missouri, Kansas City, St. Louis, and rural Missouri. Well, Missouri is so diverse. It's hard to do a blanket policy for everybody. So once we started learning, we knew it was going to be worse in St. Louis than it was in Kansas City. We knew nursing homes was going to be a factor. We knew the African American community was starting to be a factor. Excuse me. So those are some of the things that we started looking at early on, that we knew with that information we could start making decisions.
Picking up on that, what's the timetable moving forward? Again, to your point, I believe the order expires at the end of the month, right? If I remember correctly.
Right.
Obviously, I'm not asking you to give anything away at this point, strategy-wise, but I do think people want to know, what does the summer hold for us? Are we going to be able to get back on the ball fields? Can we go to the concert venues? Can we see sports in stadiums again?
Yeah, people are talking about it everywhere.
Yeah, I hope so. You know, I think the big thing is we need to get to June to start off with, and we need to see what Memorial Day weekend, what that really does do. But we want people to be active again. We want people to do outdoor sports. We want them to go back to the parks. We want sports to be active again across the state. It's a big deal for the state of Missouri, but we got to do it safely. Again, can we do social distancing? Can we make all these things happen in the urban area versus rural areas? It'll be different for different parts of the state, but we want people back out there in those summer programs, and whether it be the church camps, whether it be summer programs, as long as we feel like we can do it safely, we want to get people back involved in the economy. Look, the longer this economy drags the way it is, the longer this is going to last as far as the financial side of it goes.
Governor, I'm curious, who are you relying on? Because anybody who has to make decisions that are affecting millions of Americans in the state of Missouri better trust who they're relying on. I'm curious because I know people probably have no idea. I don't even know who you're talking to.
Yeah. Well, the First Lady would be number one. I'd put that in. Just
Good answer.
To start off with. What I did early on is I reached out to some infectious disease doctors. There's 10 of them across the state from all segments of the state. I've probably been on 11, 12 straight weeks with them on conference calls, getting their input and their information how to deal with this. And that information I got from them has really been something that's helped me a lot to get to where I am today as far as to make decisions. But they're the experts, and they were people I trusted and depended on and still do to this day.
What are those experts telling you about nursing homes? That's been perhaps one of the most tragic aspects of what we're dealing with here is the national folks will say, the executives who are in charge of the nursing home say, we were kind of the forgotten group. Yeah. Were there mistakes made in that industry, or did the governments, federal and state, not do enough to answer their needs?
The infectious disease doctors, I'll go back to them, early on, they were deeply concerned about nursing homes, just because of the situation they were in. But the other thing that happened with nursing homes that we now know, the people that were even providing the care that were going there went multiple locations. It wasn't like you were isolated to one nursing home and all your staff was there. They went to different nursing homes, and they knew that was starting to be part of the spread is actually the people going in there working as much as it was the people that were actually in there. So they were kind of ahead of that game here in the state of Missouri. Now, St. Louis has been hit hard with that, but by that time we were able to react to that to kind of know, okay, we need to go in there and do what we call a boxed-in testing strategy to be able to test everybody in there. So that kind of helped us a little bit there, although it was a bad enough situation, but it could have been a lot worse if we hadn't been able to prevent
Almost
that.
a third of our state's deaths in nursing homes. And